Welcome, everyone. My name is Jessica Morrison, Realtor with Ferris Property Group. I have the distinct honor of interviewing today Estridge Homes. And for those of you not familiar, Estridge is a local builder to Indianapolis, and they have a longstanding reputation within the industry, lots of respect. And today we're going to focus on the Serenade and the Harmony communities with Estridge. And we have Amy Licklider and Sarah Stamper joining us. So Amy, Sarah, thank you so much for your time this evening. We're going to start off with Amy and talking about the Harmony. So Amy, tell us more about it.
Well, it's a great neighborhood. We are located at 151st and Ditch Road here right in Westfield. So very close, very kind of a central location, easy to get pretty much everywhere. The neighborhood is really a lifestyle community with very rich amenities, very eclectic styles. It's a craftsman style neighborhood, kind of modeled after the 1920s, 1930s, classic Indiana architecture. So it's very nostalgic, a lot of big front porches, and accessibility, walkability just feels very friendly and welcoming. But the amenities are really one of the biggest draws for the neighborhood. There, we have a 15-acre park, a clubhouse with a state-of-the-art gym, pools. There's an adult only and a kids and family pool area, tennis courts, just tons of amenities. And the HOA fees are just nominal, $100 a month. So that's a huge draw for us.
Yeah, I think when I first heard the description of what you guys were offering and the location, I was like, I want to live there. Now, in that HOA package, does that include lawn care or no?
It doesn't. It's a low maintenance community. Yards are smaller. People don't move in here that want a lot to do. This is more of a community where you do what you want to do, not what you have to do. So yards are small, but they're not taken care of in the HOA fees. So
well, that makes sense. That makes sense because, like you said, you get to focus on the fun things in life, unless you really enjoy mowing the grass, which I do meet people who love that. But
absolutely, people still like to tinker and piddle around in the grass, but it's definitely not an all-day job. It's about 20 minutes, and then you can have a glass of wine.
No complaints there. Now, are you guys the only builder in that community, or are there?
We're not. We share the community. Estridge is the primary builder, and we're the developer of the community. That's one of our strengths. As a builder, we develop communities and create a sense when you first drive in that is really unique. If you know any of our neighborhoods from the past or have been in Harmony, we're right around 65% done. We probably have 2 more years to build, a little over 200 home sites left.
Wow, that's keeping you busy. What is your typical turnaround time for someone to, who, this is slightly getting ahead, but in terms of, you being the fastest growing community in that sense, what is your pace for building? How long does it take you guys to finish a home?
So we're unique. We are pretty nimble as a builder. We kind of have a semi-custom process. So not to, get too much in the weeds, but we still allow people, because we do a stick-built home, we still allow people to do some personalization to their home. So that process in the beginning can be pretty involved and pretty intricate. So we work really hard for the first few weeks to get the right home for people, the way that they want to live. And then once we're under contract, we are typically, because of COVID, we've got a little bit of we're a little skewed, but as everyone, just uncertain times. But typically we are 6 months from contract to close. Right now we are between 6 and 7 months from contract to close.
Wow, so that makes a lot of sense. And I like the customization portion. Can you elaborate on that? Because I feel like sometimes when builders say they're semi-custom, sometimes it's a marketing thing and sometimes that's true, but what does semi-custom mean for Estridge?
So for us, that means really, we start with our floor plans. We've got in Harmony, we've got close to 20 floor plans and maybe 60 elevations, different looks for each floor plan. But we start with our floor plan, and then if there's something that someone has always wanted or something in the home that doesn't quite work for the way that they want to live, I'll give you a good example. Right now, we are seeing a lot of dual offices or extra space in that way. Also, a lot of multi-generational living, and families coming together and living together or wanting to live together in combined households. So, with our floor plans, if someone needs those types of situations and we can make it happen in looking at the floor plan internally inside of the home, if we can move walls and create spaces that work for the way that people live, we work really hard to do that for people. Um, like I said, that happens on the front end so that when we get started, we aren't making changes through the build process. That's already done. We've got a solid floor plan. We have a package and are ready to go when it's time to start building. But for us, it really, the design part of it, the structural part of it, we can manipulate walls in the home. And a lot of times, if there's room to go off of the back and someone wants something expanded 3 feet or 4 feet, we can do things like that as well. And then once you're through the structural design of the home, a lot of builders now have gone to a more express process where you go in and you pick all of your selections. They've got packages, and you may pick your selections at the model home in the basement with your design, with your sales consultant. We just don't have that kind of a process. Not that it's bad. It's just different. Our process is more hands-on. We have a design studio with a designer that you work with to create the home of your dreams. So all along the way, it's just a very handheld process.
Yeah, that's really neat. I like hearing those details, and I hope that's an encouragement for those watching who might be preferring more of that custom experience, but maybe can't, it doesn't make financial sense for them to full on go with a custom builder. Or a lot of times when we're talking with custom builders, it's usually so much so in a luxury neighborhood, or the price of land is just way too expensive that it kind of eliminates that option. So it's nice that you guys are kind of a half step in between, get the best of both worlds, with the exception of if somebody's really looking for land, because for this community specifically, it is more of a smaller, tight-knit feel, but you also get a lot more amenities too for the concept. I love hearing that you guys are seeing a trend with his and hers, or two different offices for whatever the family style is. That I have like a list of 25 different things that I had predictions about, and I had a feeling that we were going to start to see some of those things come true because of COVID. And one of those was dual offices. I was slightly surprised, having walked through the Homeorama this year, and to be fair, those builders couldn't have seen it coming, but
no, those were started.
but there wasn't, at least on the main level, two offices. There was, I think, one builder who I thought was very creative with their, sorry, this is a slight sidetrack, but they had a recreation room, and they were marketing it as a virtual space for kids to stream the live classroom setup. But it was just an empty room, but it was still something. I thought that was creative in a marketing sense. So have you seen people since COVID started come in and maybe ask for things like that?
Oh gosh, yeah, I had someone come in and ask for 2 offices in a classroom, which is tough. It's tough to create those spaces in a 6-month time period. But our homes, you can do a basement on any home. A lot of our homes have a flexible space, so that can be used as a true study and office. A lot of times, if there's a tech center, that can be used as a second office space or a homework space. And then if there's any kind of a loft area or landing area upstairs by the kids' bedrooms or in the basement, those can also be customized, and we can add cabinetry, desk spaces, workspaces, bookshelves, anything that somebody would need to create a space that's workable for their lifestyle.
Yeah, and I feel like on one hand, this is kind of getting into the weeds, which is fine, but I love the how applicable it is right now, because I think more people recognizing the pain points in their current home are finding that they really need dedicated spaces for those purposes. And I'm curious on this, and then we can kind of talk about what makes Estridge a unique builder, or maybe some of the materials that you guys use that sets you apart from your competition. But when it comes to things like soundproofing or insulating walls, what options does the client have for, like if I came to you and wanted to have like a podcast studio in my house,
Sure.
what are my options?
So I just was asked that, actually. I'm working on that with someone. So we, as far as Harmony, I only know my experience, so Sarah will have to expand if she's got something, but we can insulate interior walls. The exterior walls of our homes are 2x6. So there's a lot of insulation there. The interior walls are 2x4. So we can do a couple of different things. We can use a soundproof baffling system in the interior walls. We can do regular insulation, but we also, one of the things that we do in our basements is the closed cell spray foam. And we do that on all of our exterior and crawl space walls in the basement. And that's also a great sound deadening application. So if someone is really truly looking for a space that they could use as a studio or something, we can also talk about insulating the walls with the spray foam. And that's a really tight seal, and it's a very nice soundproof system. So we've got a lot of different resources that we can use.
Yeah, spray foam is, when you live in a home with it, especially around the windows, it's not drafty in the wintertime, and it's really nice.
It's nice. Nice tight.
Yeah. So as far as we've talked a bit about the community, was there anything else, especially being 65% of the way in, that you wanted to touch on in terms of like current lot promotions or incentives? Sure. Or how many lots are you currently working with now in your the sections that you have open?
So we have a unique situation. We are finishing out a section right now, section 5. We've got 8 sections in Harmony. We are starting to move into 6 and 7. 6 and 7 are our largest sections of the neighborhood to be developed and sold at the same time. But they are they're also, in my opinion, the best lots and the best home sites that we've had. They are completely interior, so they don't perimeter a street of any kind. None of the homes back up to each other. They're either backing up to a pond, a wooded area, or the park, which is 15 acres of open space. So this next section that we are developing and selling into is by far the most attractive, in my opinion. It's beautiful. It's really got some unique home sites, and that's really fun to sell into. However, we have had such velocity thanks to great interest rates, as everybody knows. Also, the pandemic and people being locked into their homes or areas of the country. We see so much relocation. Harmony's 20% relocation. So 1 in 5 people that come in here have never even lived in the area, which is really a unique setting. It makes people connect. People are looking to connect, so that's fun. But this current section, or where we've been selling, we were in the middle of it when the pandemic hit and people got locked into their homes. So as soon as that started, our velocity really ramped up. I mean, we've hit a point in the neighborhood where it's developed and people can see trends and how people have taken care of their properties, and it's so attractive. I mean, it's just such a beautiful neighborhood that our velocity we had already ramped up kind of our speed and selling, but when COVID hit, things just started flying in a way that was very unpredictable. So that being said, we are going to be probably limited on home sites before too long, before the first of the year. So we'll be selling home sites that aren't developed. I say that because if you're looking for a home, it's a good time to pull the trigger.
I have a couple of questions around that, because typically when builders see that much amount of interest, they are going to not only do price increases, but Sorry, I had my thought and then I lost it, but
Incentives.
yeah, incentives. So have you guys not only had to do that, but also um, do you foresee upcoming price increases with the new sections and lots?
Well, just as a rule of thumb, in a development, in a community, land costs and development costs are always going to go up with each section. Um, you don't bid a community, or a vendor wouldn't look at a community as a whole. They look at it in sections also. So to be in real time, those price increases come as the development comes. So those are always going to go up as you get further into a neighborhood. Being where we are right now, we're still not at the top of our value here. So people getting in now are going to see the benefit of those houses to come in the next 2 years. But at this particular time, because of, I keep saying this, it sounds redundant, but I think everybody has the same experience, because of the pandemic and production being shut down in the lumber mills and different things like that, there has been a significant price increase for lumber. And that, while we can't pass that all along in one chunk, we will have price increases incrementally through the end of the year. We've had two recently. We'll have another on the 15th of October, and then another probably before the end of the year. So again, to avoid those things, I would, while interest rates are low and everything, if people are looking, it is more than ever, without this being any kind of sales tactic, it truly is it's a time to pull the trigger and get in. While the building costs are high, interest rates do offset that right now, and I don't know that, who knows if that'll be the case in the future.
Yeah, when I interviewed, I forget who it was a couple of weeks ago, but at this point they're all running together. I probably made this comment, and for those of you who are watching this series to gauge what your inventory options are, 2 months ago we had 0.9 months worth of inventory available, and then last month it was 0.8, and we're kind of really excited to see what this month says. But between that side of it and there being like quite literally nothing available, and then you have the component of low interest rates, I've seen studies that show that affordability from a payment perspective is not only allowing you to buy at price, like as if the price of the home, despite the appreciation rates, puts that affordability back where housing was in 2018. But then based on that calculation, the payment was also, I think, $61 cheaper. And I'm spacing,
It's really a unique time.
on who that source is, but, and if I can find that graph, I'll certainly post it in the comments. But I mean, it's a great time to grab it. And I just did the calendar calculation too. So if you're 7 months out average on your build time, assuming that there's no delays in your supply chain, wouldn't that put your current people who get under contract in the next couple of weeks looking at probably an April move-in date?
Yeah. Yep. We're March, April right now is what we're saying on contract signings.
Yeah.
So you probably really realistically at the end of March to the end of April right now.
And
for
since
us.
Slightly like minute question, but until you've moved or helped enough clients move into new construction communities, you don't really think about the yard until, especially when you want to go to use the yard. So as silly as this might sound, for those who would be expecting to move in the summertime or early spring, with the yards being smaller, do you guys provide the sod or have exterior packages that allow people to have a fun outdoor space from the get-go?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So outdoor living, obviously this year more than ever, has been such a premium and such an important piece of the puzzle for people. We sod in Harmony, we sod the yard fully, front, back, and sides, and there's a landscape package included in the price of the home. As well as most of our floor plans, all of our floor plans really have great outdoor living either included or as an option for each home, and fireplaces outside. And we'll I mean, if somebody can think of something and we can figure out how to source it, we'll do it. So just a lot of really fun. Serenade has some really amazing outdoor living areas also. So it is definitely a trend. Even in a community where we have seen, we haven't really had much interest for a pool because there are 3 pools here. We have people that are ready to put in a pool now and all kinds of things. So just a different trend. It's fun to see it develop and see how people are creative in those spaces. But it's definitely an important piece. If they start building now, there's a chance that their yard or the sod would be escrowed until it's time to plant it. But there is a full landscape package included with each home.
That's great, and quite the comfort for those of you who really need a better outdoor situation. I'm curious on the pool subject. From the lots that I've seen, it doesn't seem like they would have room for a pool. So are you saying that you can add a pool?
In some yards, yes.
Okay.
Not in all. Our Hamilton collection homes have a large enough home site on
Gotcha.
a lot of them to have a pool. So it's very lot specific and collection specific, but if we can figure it out,
Yeah.
we
will. And then I want to make sure that I answer this question. So for the upcoming lots that are kind of what you were describing as some of the best in the neighborhood, what kind of lot premiums can people be expecting so that they're not walking in with the wrong idea? And then can you also kind of break down to within kind of the pricing around premiums on that subject, not only lot premium, but maybe what does the price look like for doing those semi-custom changes and therefore kind of getting into the pool cost as well?
So as far as premiums, we have 3 different home sites in here, sizes. Our cottages are a 42-foot home site. They're the smallest, most efficient. And then our ranches sit on a medium for us, right in the middle, a 60-foot lot, and then 75 for our largest lot. So those are a 1/4 of an acre. As far as lot premiums, you're going to see anything from 0 premium. We always try to have something that can get someone into the neighborhood. So you'll see anything from a 0 premium, and that's a lot that you would expect it to be on. Something interior, doesn't have the best pond view in the neighborhood, or maybe is on a corner or something, but it gets you into the neighborhood. And then all the way up to right around 35,000 at the top for a lot premium. So not anything astronomical. We're not talking about, half the price of the house or anything like that. But I think the lot premiums, when you see them and see how the homes are oriented and what they back up to, and privacy in a neighborhood like this, or really any neighborhood now, the way that things have to be developed is a premium for people. So you'll pay a little bit more for that, but it's the one thing about a house you can't change. You can't change where it is. So.
Well, and I think it's important to note that your amenities are already there. I think a lot of times when people are moving into new construction communities and there's the promise of certain things being made available, you don't always know what that's going to look like. I mean, in this sense, not only are you building, but those features are already there. So you can go enjoy the pool. You know exactly kind of what you're getting. So that's very, very neat. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we jump over to Serenade?
Not really. Mostly Harmony is a very diverse community. It is in so many ways. It's very welcoming, very diverse age-wise. Lots of different family types in here. It's just such a unique community. I would love for people to come out and see it, even if you're just looking for, even if it's not in your price range and you're looking for something like this to have a reference point. It's such a unique neighborhood. I mean, I love it. I don't want to ever leave, but I love it. It's a great place with so many great people. The homes are beautiful. So yeah, it's very unique. I feel like Estridge has a unique ability to really create a sense of community within our neighborhoods. And it is something that is like catching lightning in a bottle. It's just, it's a feel more than something that you can explain. So yeah, come out and see us. It's awesome.
One last question before we jump. So you mentioned the price. What is your average sale price currently for the neighborhood?
Well, our collections are so different. So I'll kind of break that out per collection. Cottage collection is going to be anywhere from, our base price is going to start in the low 300s, right around 312, 317. To build something really well done, with some nice features on a great lot, you're probably looking at 350, just to be really fair of where you're going to, where that price point is really going to start. I would say 350 for the cottages. The Irvington, our ranch collection, which is so sexy for ranches. They're not your grandma's ranch. Those are going to be, they're going to be anywhere from the low 400s to upper fives.
Mhm.
And then our Hamilton collection is going to start in the mid fours and go up to right around 620, which is right where Serenade kind of picks up where we leave off.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And to clarify with the cottages, does that 350 goal price point include a basement, or is that a slab?
Does not. That would be on a slab. Adding a basement to anything is going to be at a minimum, probably, well, in our Hamiltons, they start with an unfinished basement. So that's kind of an unfair, but if you're starting on a slab, adding a basement's probably going to be around 50 at a
Mhm.
minimum. So take a cottage that starts in the lows, you're going to be in the 435 to 450 range on a cottage with a basement.
Yeah, that's consistent. And then just to clarify as well, when you say adding a basement, most people, when they're adding that price, that is an unfinished price. So is that the case
That would
here?
be
Or-
finished. Nope, that'd be
Okay.
finished.
Yep.
So, and but you can always add to that. So 50 finished. Then if you want to add different amenities in the basement, if you want to add extra windows, or if you want to finish a bedroom, a bathroom, a wet bar, those types of areas are going to kind of all be a la carte. So the finish would be the finished living space. And then we can add in specifications and customizations as needed.
Excellent. Well, that's exciting because I mean, a lot of times when people propose those prices, it's I feel like you get nickeled and dimed, but it sounds like there's a lot of value, especially for the price you're getting the semi-custom options as well within that. So very, very neat. So let's transition. Sarah, please tell us about Serenade.
Happy to. So I'm Amy's neighbor and it's best, but basically you're just going to go north just a little bit. So we are at 156th and Ditch Road. So after you're done visiting Harmony, you can just come on over, and it's different. It's a completely different neighborhood, different structure of the neighborhood. So it's good. You know, it's funny with being the same builder, you might expect to just go across the street and see the same thing. And it's amazing how we can just transition and look completely different one street over. So our whole goal in Serenade was to showcase this really timeless European architectural style. And it's just so elegant and classy, and it just feels different. It's peaceful. Honestly, that's probably the best thing. Every day I'm out there, especially just back in our outdoor living space, which, like Amy said, we really have a big emphasis on those spaces, which I'll talk about. But we have fountains bubbling and trees, and it is just literally just this calming effect being in the neighborhood. And then looking around at the architecture, now that we have homes that are up, it is so pretty. So we have a lot of brick, just a lot of classic style to the exteriors, different, as far as ranches to 2 stories. And then we also have 3 different collections of homes. So offering a lot of different options to anyone that comes through. Our price point is going to start $550 and then go towards $950. So within those 3 collections, there is our Lockerbie, which is an alley load product. So similar to Harmony as far as the rear load garage, and those 3 plans are all master down. So one is a full ranch, and then we have 2 master down. So that's just been a great option for actually more people than we thought, of all different walks of life. We've had empty nesters, young professionals, and then families with kids who are literally just on the go all the time, and they don't want to be worrying about yard space. Those homes themselves, though, are not small. Most of those are around 3,500 square feet, so plenty of livable space. And then from there, as you move north in our neighborhood, we have our Woodruff collection. So this is a little bit more traditional style of home. They are for the most part, side entry garages, a couple front load garages, and those we have ranches, master up and master down. So again, plenty of different options. And along with home sites, we have tree lined home sites, we have home sites on the water, and then some internal options as well. And then the northern part of the community, which makes up the final of the 120 home sites that Serenade has, is our Meridian collection, which is a larger estate home and also larger home sites. So those home sites, they range from a third of an acre up to a full acre. So we have some really, really pretty estate lots that are truly breathtaking. Like you got to drive out, walk out on the lot just to see it all. But there are some that overlook this tree farm, and then it overlooks over to an alpaca farm. So that's fun. But it's just it's really neat because there is not a lot of that left in Westfield particularly. And that's kind of where we wanted Serenade to come, is fill this gap of custom luxury homes that were done, because, you know, once Brookside and Bridgewater have now completed, that was that price point, that kind of, you know, $600 to $850 that everyone was gravitating towards. And now we just moved on the other side of 31 and have all the options available again.
Yeah, and it sounds like too, you're right under, I mean, Chatham Brook probably is going to be your direct competitor in some ways, but from a competition standpoint, it sounds like you're slightly less than what it will be to live in Chatham Hills. I mean, Chatham obviously goes much further north than the prices you've mentioned, but
and physically further north.
Yeah, for sure. So to clarify, I know you said they start in the 6s, and then it sounds like from the estates we're into the 900s, or what's been your most expensive home so far?
So far we are right around 9, and that's our home site. So we also are, just so there's not any question, if you were to come through Serenade after visiting Harmony, we do price our homes a little bit differently. So you have the base price of the home and then the home site on its own. So we don't have premiums for the home site. It is just what the home site cost is. And so with those, we have home sites that range from $105,000 to $240,000 across the board, from Lockerbie to estate lots. And then, yeah, with the price point, the alley load product, we're more in that $550 to $7 range, and then $650 to about $8, and then $750 to $9.
And is that the home price plus the?
That's all in. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but you never know sometimes. And financially, for those trying to, you know, calculate what their options are, I'm assuming that for you guys as a builder, they wouldn't have to purchase the lot separately. You guys would do it all together for both
Absolutely.
communities. That's
really kind of the benefit of being able to build in a very custom realm, but not have to go through the custom process. So conventional financing, can work with one of our preferred lenders. It's only 3% down, which is also very unique. So 3% down contract, and then nothing until closing. And then right now, I would highly encourage people too, if they want to do a construction loan, we're totally fine with doing that. And that way they can capture today's rates instead of, you know, trying to lock in 60 days out from April, May. So that is always an option we can talk through people. And I've done many of those, and it's not a problem.
Yeah. And then you mentioned the preferred lender. So who is that for Estridge?
Yeah, we have 2 lenders. So we work with Tom Garrison with Prime Lending, and then Jordan Reckman with Hallmark Mortgage. And they're both wonderful. They're very, very responsive, and they take great care of our buyers. And that's one of the things, you know, especially in newer neighborhoods like ours, and then Harmony too, with their prices. getting a little higher than where we started, we always worry about appraisals, but it's been seamless, and it's definitely helpful to stay in-house, work with someone and they'll take good care of you.
Certainly. Now, how you mentioned 120 home sites.
Mhm.
When did you guys open, and how many lots do you have currently available in your
Mhm.
sections?
So we got stuck in the middle of COVID because we were supposed to have our grand opening in April. Clearly that did not happen. So we have been, we broke ground on homes last fall for our models. And then we just had our big grand reveal here 3 weeks ago. So I technically am going off of that. Like, we've really been operating at full capacity with everyone knowing where we are, and we're still, finding people to learn about Serenade. But and then from there, our sales have kind of been the same. So we've had a great steady amount of sales going through, and we have wonderful amount of inventory. So there's no lack of inventory. You can just come to Serenade because we have at least 5 homes that are complete now. And then we have many others that are going to be ready too. So just like Amy mentioned, with the amount of relocation that we have, it's just a great option to have homes that are ready. And then if you have time, then you can build.
Yep. Love it. Now, are you saying the 5 homes that are ready are those spec houses that you proactively built? Okay. And what are the
Yes, we have
prices on
showcase
those?
homes. We have 5 that are done, and we have 4 others in various stages of construction. So we will always have a good amount of available inventory.
Yeah. What's the prices on those?
So we have those. They range from $630 to $797 right now.
Nice.
Oh, nope. Then we have one at $571, and it's the most adorable ranch. I was just in it today, and it looks so good, and it just finished up.
Sorry, he triggered the soapbox I have about ranches in a good way. The semi-custom or custom ranch product with a basement is so hard to find. And if you do find it, it's either production and it's going to compromise on quality. And for the generations that are considering that product, in my experience, they want something that's more custom, but it's maybe probably taking them further out than they want to be. I mean, it's a classic buyer problem. You pick 3: price, location, condition, pick 2 of the 3. And you usually end up compromising on that front. But that's been something from an inventory perspective that, it's just like, why aren't more people doing that? And generally speaking, when you do price per square foot on ranches versus 2 stories, ranches are always more expensive, but it's amazing the flexibility that ranches have, because I feel like it's the most accessible floor plan for resale.
It's the widest, definitely the widest demographic. It reaches everybody. But real quick, you made me have a thought, talking about price per square foot and how that kind of plays out. Now, I feel like that is it's such a different game right now. And it has been for a couple of years, but price per square foot especially for that ranch buyer, typically for us, that is a buyer that is coming from, that is well established, that has lived in a beautiful home, raised their family, and now they're transitioning to an empty nester home. But they have created a space in the last 20 years, raising their family and doing upgrades to their home. Those people are not looking to go back to a starter format, where ranches used to be a single level was a starter home because it was small and inexpensive, and the price per square foot was low because the things included in that home were very basic: linoleum on the floors, Formica countertops, carpet in a lot of places, not a lot of bells and whistles. That's not who the ranch buyer is anymore. They are, like I said, a very established customer, home buyer who is looking for a fine finish in a manageable space. So if you squish 5,000 square feet of finishes and luxury finishes into 2,000 square feet, that skews the price per square foot. So it's kind of a catch-22. I think that people a lot of times are groomed and taught to look at the price per square foot, but it's really not indicative of the home that they want. So educating people on that and having a good dialogue about that, and just bringing them up to speed on, I totally get, if we were to spread this beautiful finish out over 4,000 square feet, you would have the price per square foot, but that's not what you're looking for. You don't want 4,000 square feet anymore.
Well, and to be fair too, I mean, you have to take inflation into consideration. I mean, the price of
Absolutely.
wood back then,
Different
just
ball game.
as you mentioned earlier, lumber prices have doubled. Like the cost that it was to build that home back in 2003 is way different than it is now.
And if you want to build a ranch that really has some character and excitement, the foundation of that home is not going to be just a rectangle or a square. It's going to have some interest, and those types of things are what add to that price per square foot. But then you've got a home that is beautifully finished and well suited for entertaining, but also really manageable for two people and feels cozy and comfortable for two people. So it's quite an undertaking to create a space like that, but I think we do a better job than anyone. Our ranch plans are phenomenal. They're so, like I said, they're so sexy and so exciting and have such a wow factor, both here and in Serenade. They're have by far been our best selling product to date. We can't build a ranch fast enough, and so just like Serenade, we keep several showcase homes or spec homes in the ground and in production all throughout the year. We always have ranch plans, but also family homes and cottages available. A master on the main plan, I'm sure you get requests all the time. Anytime you have a master on the main, whether their bedrooms are up or down, you just appeal to such a wide market in resale. Anybody can live there. Anybody, even with a newborn baby, you can get a baby monitor and live in the house for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So it's a very appealing product. And we, across all of our collections in Harmony and Serenade, no matter what we do, we have at least a floor plan that has a master on the main, if not a ranch and a couple of masters on the main, just to serve a market demand.
Yeah, I love that. How many ranch plans do you have? And going back, and I'd love to hear this answer too by Sarah, but also because you guys market yourselves as more semi-custom, does the buyer have the ability to move walls around in your floor plan or modify those floor plans?
Absolutely. So I feel like we've done a good job in creating a lot of custom options available already that we can present to people. So, if they need to change a bedroom into an office or vice versa, or create a space out of a space that we don't have it designated, we do have a lot of custom options that we can present to get the juices flowing and help somebody create a space. But people are creative, and there's so many ways for them to be exposed and gather information now that people come to us with their own ideas. And yes, that's exactly what we do. We have the unique ability and the nimble structure internally, thankfully, of a lot of people that work really hard to help us on our side create a home that people want. But we're very fortunate in the fact that we have a staff that is able to redraw and redesign things pretty much on the fly to create the spaces that people want. And we do that with any of our floor plans. I hesitate to say this, because if anybody in our company is watching, I'm kind of a pain, but I don't know that there's a house in Harmony that I haven't customized. Sorry.
Well, and
it's so fun.
But I think that's a good thing, because
it is a good thing. That's what people want.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a reason somebody's coming to you in a semi-custom sense. Like, that means that they don't want production, which means that they are going to be more picky and want more options. And it's great that you as a builder are able to meet that request. Now, Sarah, what does that question look like for you?
It's the same. We do the exact same thing. I've never met a house I didn't try to do something different to. So there's always possibilities, but that's, and it's just nice because, we don't shy away from it, and we don't charge more for it. We charge what it costs to make a change. And that's what we do. And then everyone is happy because it's exactly what they want. I mean, the nice thing is it's not moving every wall. Like, most plans are pretty near perfect. And there's just one thing, because everyone has different needs, that they might need an adjustment, like a master bedroom bump, or they need 2 offices, or they want this deluxe 3-tier terrace patio for their grill and their hot tub and their lounging space. And we do that, and it looks amazing. So
I love it. I'm like nerding out over here.
mhm.
You need to come back out and see us.
Yes, I do. I feel like, as a side note, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this. I feel like anytime now, because of COVID changing our behaviors, the things that we commit to saying yes to for when we leave the house, it's like, I really like, it's got to be important enough, but then I think there's also the expectation that the experience is held to a
Meets
higher.
the need. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, I did all of this stuff to come out here. It better be good.
Mhm.
But you know,
Risking
you
life
guys,
and limb.
yeah, and having been out to Harmony specifically several times, I mean, it's a beautiful community. So, and it's neat to see the community center over time develop as well. And then I haven't had a chance to get out to Serenade yet, but I've seen pictures, and I love,
That's gorgeous.
Zara, what you've described with the European architecture. I think that's a
Yeah.
breath of fresh air for Indiana.
Mhm. We just
It's
have a
really
lot of
unique.
pretty grounds. So Paul Estridge just had this vision, and it all came to life. We developed the neighborhood, put in all of the landscaping to then let the architecture just flourish amongst, because the his whole goal before we knew about COVID coming was gathering places for neighbors to just leave their homes, walk down the sidewalks, meet at the fire pit or fountain or the dock by the pond, and just enjoy each other's company. And so we are thrilled for the day when we get to get back to all of that, but the neighborhood will just look even better then. So we're just warming up for when we're ready. But there's 24 acres of just common space, green space throughout the neighborhood of the total 80 acres that it is. So that's a very large amount of just really serene landscaped areas. So that's definitely something. Whenever anyone comes out to look at a house, I take them on a detour. So you have to just come walk with me first, because it's the best part.
And you mentioned a dock with a pond. Is that something that the homeowners are allowed to use, like for kayaks or
Or
like
gondolas? I don't know. I mean, anything can happen. But no, we
Your
do
red
not have
beret.
it. Yeah, we don't have it set up for that quite yet. But it is just, it's a really pretty focal point in our neighborhood. You get a great view of it from our model, and there's pergolas set up that we're gonna hopefully get some big, tables that we can put under there too. And we see people, I see Harmony folks there all the time, just walking on over because they just enjoy it. It's just a great place to come
Are
and
people
walk.
cheating?
They are. There's a lot of them. I'm gonna keep sending them back.
That's funny.
Unless they want to buy a house, then they can stay.
Right. So 2 questions on that. One, I feel like sometimes when people say a pond, it's not really a pond that you could, like, it's meant for being viewed like what you're describing. But is the future tense use of that pond, does that allow for people to kayak or do it? Anything?
You could. I mean, it's a large body of water. It is not very deep. I mean, it is still a retention pond, but it is a really pretty one. So that one in particular is meant for the looks. And then we have another pond that's larger. Eventually they'll be stocked, whether someone does it or it happens naturally. So, fishing, there's benches set out. We have swings throughout. We have a park area for the kids with really cute timber stepping stones up to a slide that's built into the ground, and just very natural. The whole neighborhood has so many natural aspects.
I feel like a goofball because I don't know how big of a pond I'm asking about. And it's like, well, if you saw it, Jessica, you probably.
No. You could totally get a kayak out there. That's what, but like I said, I think the gondola would fit the neighborhood better.
Yeah,
I agree.
that's really cute. And my second question around community amenities is, do Serenade homeowners have access to the community at Harmony, like the pools?
Do not. We do not. And I do not foresee that happening. Another 120 homes on top of Harmony's large number probably wouldn't make all the neighbors super happy with us. And quite frankly, it's not a big pushback. Most of the homeowners that we talk to, especially as of late, they're going to put in their own pool, and
Yeah.
they have the luxury of doing so with majority of the lots in the neighborhood. But I think the walkability is great, especially now people just wanting to get out, stretch their legs, and have a pretty place to be. Even though that's the first question people always ask, you always have to wonder, well, how many times are you going to use that pool? But no, it's not something we are sharing with Harmony.
Yeah. Now, since you bring up the concept of adding a pool, which COVID, if we've been paying attention, shows that, pool builders are booked out the wazoo.
Very
I've heard
busy.
several are booked well into next year. So since you are starting from scratch on a piece of ground, what is the cost for someone to add a pool? And is that still included when they're finishing out the, or when they go to closing, or is that for some
So
reason?
we've been back and forth, and quite frankly, if it weren't for COVID, we might be saying yes. But right now, considering that we do carry the interest and people are just doing conventional financing, we would not, because there's so many delays right now. I mean, people talking to a pool company say they can't even get them in till maybe start next summer. So it would just delay closing if it was part of the purchase agreement. Now, if someone wanted to do a construction loan, then that would be a little bit different because it would be separate from that. So no, right now the answer would be most likely not part of the agreement.
Okay. And for some communities in the price point that you're describing, since you are rolling the home site into the total price of the home, I think I already know the answer to this question, but it's always good to check. In more traditional custom neighborhoods, you can buy the home site, sit on it for a certain amount of time, and then build. Is that the case with Estridge, or once you're under contract, you have to move forward?
You have that option in our estate section. So all of Serenade is Estridge, with the exception of the about 30 lots we have in our estate section. So that area is open to outside builders, just needs to be approved architecturally. So with that, you have a year to two you could purchase a lot, which we just sold a couple of them here over the past month. Then they can bring a builder of their choice or build with Estridge. But that's one where you could sit on it until you're ready for a little bit.
And what's the length of time before you're required?
I think we're shooting for 1.5 to 2 years at the most, just so that we can keep the activity going.
And to confirm, those home sites were north of 100?
Yes. So yeah, they are the ones we have walkout, and then they're the ones that are close to an acre, and they're going to range from about 180 to 240.
Yep, that sounds consistent. It's amazing how the price of land over time is.
It's a pretty piece of land, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is.
And you're not having to add a driveway, add a septic, and a well, and everything else. It's all right there.
Or manage the project yourself.
Right.
Which, that when you ask the question about semi-custom versus custom or production, one of the things that I think is important to talk about, even in a custom home, custom is very difficult to find anymore. People don't necessarily want the added job. It's a full-time job to build a custom home. There's a lot of legwork, and you're managing the project. With us, you get the best of both worlds. You can personalize and customize your home, have some really custom features and finishes, but you've got a builder, a building supervisor, and vendors that are managing your project the entire time for you. So you can still have your normal life and not have to have an extra job of building a home and managing that process the whole time. When I say we work really hard at the front end, that's what all of that entails, is getting a total package together in a timely manner, and then moving someone through the process to where we know that we're building the right home with the right features and the right finishes that they want, and then able to move into a build process that is streamlined and managed very well and takes them through the process in the least stressful way as possible.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's encouraging to hear that that's offered. What would you say We've got a couple minutes left. I'd love to hear this from Amy and then from Sarah. What would you say is your biggest tip to someone who's considering building a home in your price point or community? What are things that they should look for?
I think just being very thorough, not making a decision that is, not making a decision that you feel like you're making too quickly. We've got the luxury of having a staff that is professional, experienced, and knowledgeable, all the way from sales consultants to our designers to our architectural team, builders. We just have a really deep team that is truly amazing. So being able to take the time to make the right decision, I feel like is really important, but also trusting that we've been in business for 60 years and have built 9,000 homes in the area. We are experienced, we know what we're doing, and being able to trust that. I feel like when, people always have an experience or know somebody who has had an experience in building. And a lot of times you, just like when you have a baby, or you don't hear the best things. So finding a sales consultant and a realtor that you really trust, that have your back and are an advocate for you, with a company that really wants to deliver what we've promised and deliver a home that you can be proud of and are excited to pull into the driveway every day. That is truly the ultimate goal. So finding that and vetting those people when you are looking at builders, it isn't just a home in a neighborhood. It is really trying to I feel like it's really finding the right company that fits who you are, where you want to live, and how you want to build your home. There are a lot of competition around. There are a lot of builders around anymore. And while some of that has gotten very impersonal and quick, there are still companies around that are embedded in the community and want to serve a customer in a way that they would serve a family member. Mm-hmm. And that's really who we are at our heart. So I think whether you're building with us or anybody, I think it's really worth taking the time to investigate all of your options and making a choice that fits who you are and who your family is just so paramount. It's so important.
Very cool.
I would 100% agree with all of that. Just let us help you, whether it's Estridge or we can just be a source to help you along the journey, because you need to know the top 3 things. Why are you moving in the first place? What is important? And then just what feels right. And I do think that that's something that, even coming through any Estridge neighborhood, whether it's brand new like Serenade or it's an older neighborhood like Centennial across the street, they just feel different. There's just something comfortable about it. And I think that's kind of what we try to embody as sales consultants and as a company, is just this space where we want to help make sure that you build a home of your dreams, because it is so important. I mean, this is especially now, it's your everyday, and it's your family. And that is really important to us too.
Certainly.
It's the difference between a job and a passion. And I think for everybody that works here, it's a passion.
That's inspiring. And I love hearing that, because I think a lot of times in sales, new construction is a great career path for a lot of people. And I think in some ways it can be, more yeah, in some ways. Unfortunately, a lot of people that I talk with are not that way. Like they do really care about the customer, but I think a lot of that is reflective of company leadership. I think if you've got leadership who is passionate and that is their driver, they're going to make decisions differently than someone who is more so about the bottom line, or
sure.
It's a different type of process. So
two different beasts.
Right. I'd like to illustrate this a little further. So assuming that someone has built with production before, very cut and dry, like you said, it's very quick decisions. For someone who's looking at Estridge and the semi-custom process, how is that different? And I know we only have like 3 minutes left,
Yeah,
so you could probably talk
patience.
for a long time.
I think
but-
that's it. Can just
Yeah.
sum it up with patience. I mean, that's the best thing, is that it is not, we don't have a one-click system. You know, we don't have a computer in front of us with all of the options and pricing generated. It is truly a pen and paper situation, but you know, that gives us time to figure everything out and make it much more personable and really get into what's important. But no, just have patience with us, and perfection did not happen in a day. So
Yeah, I mean, how many meetings can somebody expect? Because if you are offering those custom options or the flexibility, Amy, you mentioned the word nimble. You know, I'm envisioning going out to a granite yard and picking out my slab of granite or a certain array of tiles. Is that the case, or you know, how much?
No. So while it's a semi-custom process, we still have a design studio. So
Right.
it's one-stop shop. You meet with your sales consultant. We do all of the structural, even work with the architects to get the design right that you want if we're doing some customization structurally. But when you move into the design phase and picking your elements, granite, quartz, carpet, hardwoods, what have you, those are done in a design studio in a contained environment where we have everything on display and you can pick your selections there. So it's not a lot of legwork. It's not really overwhelming. Part of our process for a lot of us is to do a design preview with people, which is so helpful. It really takes a lot of the guesswork out. I think the X factor, a lot of time when you're building, we know structural, we know the price of the land, we know the price of the base price of the house. But when people go to the design studio, I think there's a fear of, oh my gosh, we're going to totally blow our budget. And how do we know that we're not going to? I know you said that we won't, but I don't know if I trust that. So we try to take people to the design studio for a preview. And it's very high level. We're not picking anything, but we want to make sure that in our included features, is there something there that meets your needs, or do we need to bump that up a level? And can I get you a ballpark price for that so that we know where we're at in a range? It's not going to be an exact price until you're finished and you really do pick your items, but I can get really close and know, okay, I'm comfortable with you signing this contract because I know I can deliver what I promised. And there's a comfort in that on both sides, mine as well. There's nothing fun about having someone sign and then them being upset because they didn't have the right information. I think we are good at going through the process as far as we physically and possibly can to get to a comfort level for people that is realistic. It's not pie in the sky. There's no benefit to telling somebody, oh, sure, we can get you in, and then not being able to get them in. So
And it's like $20,000 or $40,000 on top of what was quoted. And it's like, for some people, that's just not feasible. And then, you know, what they were expecting to build in the finishes isn't there. So then they not only wasted all of their time, but then it's a question of, can they get their earnest money back by that point?
Sure. Yep. So we try to do all those things before we get to the contract so that we've got a comfort level. It's a different way of going about it. So when, you know, Sarah says, be patient, those are some of the steps that we try to take with someone to assure them that what we say is what we mean, and we want to deliver what we promised.
Excellent. Well, for those who are watching and would like to learn more, I will provide a link for you to set up an appointment, and we can talk more at length about specific details, and we can include the sales consultants on that, and we can go deep and make sure that if you are interested in building with Estridge, that you can ask the qualifying questions that are important to you and see what makes the most sense. Amy, Sarah, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure getting to know you both a little bit better tonight, and also learning about these two communities. Any last closing words?
No, come and see us.
yes.
Yeah, and especially if you got a lot of realtors watching, we've got inventory if you're looking.
Just a little.
You guys are realtor friendly, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, we love realtors.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I figured you'd. Yeah, I feel
You've
like
got buyers that we may not see.
Yeah, well, and you know, we work with people all the time. So any builder, or there's some nationwide that are starting to make poor decisions on that subject. But
Not us.
we work with people all the time. And, when clients ask us, who we encourage them to go check out, you want to have good relationships. So
Absolutely.
well, this has been incredibly valuable. I want to be respectful of your evenings. So thank you so much to both
Thank
of
you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great
Good
night.
night.
Bye.